Hey y'all, this is Jessica from Daydreams and Wonderlust, and I thought I'd try to record a Color With Me storytime video today. I've never actually done this before, so obviously it looks a little wonky and the story is a little interesting. I do have to give a little bit of a disclaimer. This story is about my time when I served as a Peace Corps volunteer in Botswana, and I am not speaking as a representative of the U.S. government or the Peace Corps during this story recording. It's just my own personal experiences. So enjoy, sit back, relax. Sorry the quality's not better. I will work on that in the future. And if you want me to actually work on it in the future, like and subscribe and leave a comment telling me that this was great and you want more. All right, let's get into this. Pula? 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 Growing up in Oregon, I'm no stranger to rain. Heavy rain, misty rain, storms that last for days and flood the neighborhood river. I've seen it all. The rain in Botswana is an entirely new experience, though. Shortly after my return from in-service training, it started to rain. I thought, oh good, maybe the water will come on. After being pampered by the Oasis Motel with regular showers, it seemed like quite the hardship to suddenly find myself unable to turn on a tap and have water spew out to my heart's content. I was in luck. The water did return shortly after the rain started and stayed on for most of the week, as did the rain. Heavy showers late at night, lasting until early into the morning. In the afternoons, the sun would try to burn away the clouds, but by nightfall, the rain would return. Tuesday morning, I discovered a leak in the roof, just over the edge of my bed. On Thursday morning, the rain continued to fall heavy, and I left home late, hoping it would die down. It did, just long enough for me to walk the mile to school. I was motivated this day. A kid from the school stopped by the day before and practically begged for me to start the PAC club again. It felt good. And though I had no idea how I would get it started, I knew my first step was to get to school. Of course, I got there, and my counterpart was nowhere to be found, again. The deputy headmaster didn't appear to be in that day either. Those were my two people to talk to at the school, so without them, I was lost. As I sat in the guidance and counseling office, determined to find enough materials to make a curriculum for the PAC Club, I sniffed around, looking through school books and pamphlets and posters, trying to figure out what would be useful when the rain started again. It came down so hard I couldn't see through it. I felt trapped in the annexed office all by myself. The class bell shrilled in the distance, but I could barely hear it through the roar of water seeking down on the corrugated tin roof. Finally, I took a brave step and decided to leave the office. My counterpart wasn't going to stop by anytime soon, and I needed to find somebody to talk to about the PAC Club. I stepped through the muddy grass, mindful of my shoes that still looked relatively new, except for the layer of dirt caked around the toes. It would wash off, I assured myself. First, I went into the teacher's lounge, hoping my counterpart would be hiding from the rain in there. She wasn't. I guess it was possible she was still in class, but I thought it was more likely she just didn't come in that day. I decided to walk around the front part of campus, poking my head into classroom doors and generally being a menace, hoping I'd see one of the kids who'd begged me to start the Pack Club. The rain picked up even more, and I took shelter on the covered patio on the back side of the administrative building. I stood there for what felt like hours, though it was probably closer to 10 minutes. Before giving up and going back to the teacher's lounge, I sat in there talking with one of the new teachers and trying to absorb as much Setswana as I could for an hour. The rain had not stopped and only seemed to be getting worse. I decided it was probably time to go home before it did actually get worse. I couldn't seem to find any of the people I needed to talk to, so I decided I'd try again next week. As I headed home, I noticed the trails of water that were only making an appearance when I first got to school seemed bigger and deeper somehow. When I got to the road I crossed to get to my side of town, my heart sank. It was swept away by the storming river that had overtaken the road. As I walked upstream, I became more and more discouraged. If the roads were this bad, what did the rest of the pathways look like, I wondered. Across from the general store, I found a small stretch of road that had not been entirely flooded yet. Just feet further upstream was a waterfall. A waterfall had formed where the dirt road had been completely washed out. I hopped into the middle of the road, then hopped across the second river. My foot landed right in the middle and sent a splash of cold, murky, brown water up my pant leg. Both my feet were soaked. It was as if I had completely had to function in rain such as this. But then I thought, had I ever really experienced rain like this? Sure, there was that flood in 1996, but I don't think I spent a lot of time going outside during that week. And when the puddles from Breakup in Anchorage, Alaska made their appearances, I always had boots. All I had on this particular day were my Keen Mary Janes. I saw others making their way through the flooded paths, and I thought, surely if they can do it, I can too. And I followed one girl around to my usual path, only to see her stop and turn around at the last moment and head further downstream towards the Road River. When I reached the spot she had turned around at, I saw why. Ankle-deep water stretched for dozens of yards. I walked back to one of the crossroads to find an equally big puddle, then decided to head downstream like the girl did. Maybe she knew something I did not. Maybe what she knew was that it was better to be in her house than to go anywhere else that day. I went around and found an even larger puddle that looked deeper and more menacing than the previous two. My shoes were getting sucked in by the mud, and I knew it was time to suck it up and make the decision. I couldn't get home any other way at this point, and trying to find a different road would probably just lead to the same or worse results. My mind was made up. I went back to my regular path, and I trudged through the ankle-deep, murky water. Once I was in, it didn't seem so bad, and I wondered what all the fuss was about. If I was a kid, I'm pretty sure I would have been splashing in the puddles, kicking up the water, and maybe even skating around on my belly. Then I remembered all the animal poo. Hadn't I just seen a cow pee on my way to school that morning? The donkey and the goat pellets, the cow pies, they're all falling apart and becoming a part of that murky brown water. I was walking in shit water. My feet took me as quickly out of that water as they could, and I trudged through another stream of pathway before finally heading uphill. Nothing like a little rain to let you know whether you live upstream or down, I thought. As I finally reached my house, soaked to the bone, freezing, and feeling just a little bit dirty, if not victorious, I noticed that my compound seemed to have excellent drainage, and we were not experiencing the same kind of flooding issues that the rest of the village did. Even if going to the main road from my house was flooded, it was not quite as bad as the river I had to cross on my way home. I whipped my clothes off outside and then rushed them into the bathroom. I wanted to wash my feet, curl up in some pajamas, and call it a day. I grabbed the shower head and I turned the knob. No water. There was no water running in my house. I had to cross a river to get home. I avoided 2 lakes and walked through one and an actual stream, nearly drowned just from breathing. But the water in my house was off. There was a lesson in there somewhere. But 2 days later, and I still can't be bothered to find it. I will say that I'm okay now if it stops raining for a while.